Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends all around the world, welcome to the best and your favorite footy podcast on the internet, Touchline Banter. I'm one of your hosts, Cheyenne Karimi, alongside my great friend and co-host, Ruben Dario Chavez, also known as Ray Chava on Twitter. Welcome back to the podcast. You know, it's Champions League final week. This is going to be a preview for the Champions League final, which as of today, it's Thursday as when we're recording. We're probably going to get this up tonight, if not tomorrow morning. So it's going to be a quick turnaround, but we've had the Conference League final. Shout out to Chelsea for winning that. We had one of the worst Europa League finals or games of football I think I've ever seen in my life. Ruben, how you been? Are you excited? And what did you think of all these games?
I've been good, busy. I got a move coming up. So for the viewers at home, this might be the last time you see me in this particular backdrop with my parents' stuff in the background. So soak it all in, because hopefully because I move on Sunday. So starting in June, whenever we record the podcast, there will be a new setup. Probably at first just boxes in the background, and then eventually, hopefully, some semblance of decor. But yeah, I've been good, just busy. So we're doing the Champions League. We just want to talk a little bit about these other games, and I stress a little bit because the Chelsea Betis game was actually a really fun game. And I think if you're a Madrid fan like us, or honestly, you know what? If you're a fan of football, Isco is like a criminally underrated player, a number 10 who like has a lot of technical quality, but is like more physical than people give him credit for. And in the 2017 run, especially, he was Madrid's like, I don't want to say best player throughout the whole thing, but definitely one of their most important players for what he did defensively and offensively for that team and how Zidane used them. And he played great. I thought Betis made a really good showing of it. Antony kind of disappeared, which some people are now taking to... I saw a bunch of United fans being like, oh, see, we weren't the problem. He just really sucks. He plays Premier League opposition and he folded. I'm like, okay, it's first of all, it's one game. Like, second of all, yeah, I mean, maybe there's some truth to it. I think Chelsea just had more legs, and that's what happened. Like, for the first hour, Betis were doing really well, hanging in there. They took the lead, probably should have made some more of their chances in the first half. They could have been 2-0 up, maybe even 3-0 up going into the half. That maybe changes the complexity of the game. But then, you know, Chelsea's quality shone through. As soon as they put on Reece James and took off Gusto, who was getting abused out there, things changed. And then Cole Palmer really made the difference. For the United game, for me, it's as simple as like, that was an awful watch. Like it was like an assault to the eyes.
That was ass. Straight ass.
And it's one of those things, because I edited the episode we did last, and it should be up. There's some technical difficulties about YouTube not putting it up, but I mentioned that there was an Arsenal fan on Twitter who does like a betting, like his account is like a betting account. And he was saying like, oh, I don't want to hear about the Prem not being as good as La Liga, blah, 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 after the fact that Spurs and United made it to the finals. And I'm like, yeah, but the football they play is so basic. Like they made it to the finals through a mixture of injury luck and some scrappy goals. Like United easily could have gone out to Lyon. Like that was not like a convincing win over two legs.
They probably should have, but
yeah. And so, but you just watch that, and it was honestly, it was like watching championship football. Like it was, there was no idea. And like, I have a friend, Jacob, who I've mentioned on this podcast before. He's a Spurs fan. I was very happy for him because that win obviously meant a lot, right? Like, and in a way, as much fun as the Spurs no trophy memes have been, the fact that Spurs won it and Manchester United didn't win it kind of is better for the competition. If United had won it, they've won it before. It wouldn't be a major trophy. They weren't even planning to have a bus parade. It was going to be a barbecue, from what Radcliffe said.
What?
So, yeah, you didn't hear that?
No,
it was just going to be a barbecue. And obviously, Spurs was the complete opposite. They had their bus parade. Romero was getting hammered. Son got plastered. And then, like, you know, you look at the fact that, like, son won a major trophy with Spurs. Something that not even Harry Kane could do. That fraud had to go to Bayern to get his first one. Very funny that him and Spurs both won a trophy in the same year. Yeah, the game was poor. I'm happy that Spurs won just for their fans. And ironically enough, we've criticized him for not being pragmatic. You can describe that final as very pragmatic. He basically, whether it was through a mix of injury or just how he decided to approach the game, he took all creativity out of that midfield, and it was basically just let's bully our way across the line. I mean, an own goal made the difference. I know it won't go down as an own goal, but if you look at that, that's an own goal. They just didn't want to give it as an own goal just to respect the competition, I think. But it was ugly. And United are in a poor state. Ruben Amorim, look, I have a solidarity with him as a fellow Ruben, and I want him to do well. He did well at Sporting, but God, he must miss Portugal so much. Like he must just look at a picture of Gyökeres crying, just crying, like
that Wolverine meme.
Yeah, honestly. So it was a horrible game of football. I think the ending was probably the best if you're a neutral or someone that just wanted a team to really appreciate the win. What did you think about it?
I think the less I say, the better. I'll start with the positives. I'm happy for Spurs. I'm happy for Heung-min Son. If there's ever a player in football that you can't hate and like you love, it's Sonny, as Jose Mourinho would say in the Amazon Prime documentary. His son calls him Sonaldo Nazario. I actually really like Son. I think he's probably been one of the most like underrated players in football throughout his career. I think he's still great. I think he has a lot to offer, even though he's aged a bit. It was great to see him win the trophy. For all the shit that Ange and Spurs Ange has gone through. I'll start with Ange. He delivered on his promise. He says, I win in the second season, and he did. And to quote legendary France footballer Frank Leboeuf, you don't play well in a final. You win or you lose a final. I can say that probably out of all like the Champions League finals I've watched with Real Madrid, I would say like only the Juventus one was the one I can say that like they played well and they like actually like were the better team, and like not were the better team, but like won convincingly, and to the point that like I'm like we were them the entire game. That's it. Yeah. The other ones, it was a little cagey, had to suffer a lot. Get a goal because Trent falls asleep. Get a goal because Carvajal, the shortest man on the pitch, gets a header. But you win, right? It's a final. Your goal is to win. So, but yeah, that was the most Spursy goal ever. I like when I saw the goal. I watched the replay like 3 times. I was like, how did it go in? Yeah. Like, what is Onana doing? Like, holy shit! Like, the fall off needs to be studied. Like, this guy was a Champions League final goalkeeper. This guy was like touted by everybody. I blame him a lot for that goal. But anyway,
I agree.
Yeah, it was just a terrible game to watch. Kulusevski was injured for the Spurs. So was Son. Like Ruben said, no creativity in the midfield. I have to blame Amorim a bit. I understand, there's some kind of turmoil, quote unquote, with certain players like Garnacho. It seems like he's going to become surplus to requirements, and he didn't start him. I was confused why he didn't start Kobe Mainu. Even Ugarte, I was surprised. I just think he made a lot of selection decisions. But yeah, like basically 50th minute in, Ange and Spurs just set up shop, and they're like, yeah, we're good. We're holding this down. We'll see what happens, and hopefully we win. And they won. Don't watch the highlights because there is none. And yeah, credit to Spurs for winning.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the Amorim thing. The decision for me that was he forced Mount on the team, and to force Mount on the team, he had to drop Garnacho. Yeah, and it made Bruno have to play further back, and it for no one's benefit. Like it didn't do anything positive.
Yeah, so, exactly.
I don't know, whatever.
I also do think that this just shows like the systematic top down issue at United. How like a guy who a lot of people like, some United fans are saying that like, oh, what does he really bring? Is he actually any better than Ten Hag? I think both of us have always like favored him and have said, like, give him time. We think he can do the job if he gets his players in. But man, dude, United is a tire fire of an organization right now. Like, just the signings and the players they've made and the lack of signings, even though they spent like over, I don't know how many $billions or pounds or euros. This is ridiculous. And also, like, it's the whole. I think we were talking about it in one of the other episodes when Amarim was like, "Yeah, like I am. We don't deserve to be in the final. We're not." And after the game, he's like, "Yeah, if they want to let me go, he's like, I'll go without a fight. I won't take severance." And apparently, Gary Neville comes out and he's like, "No, don't give yourself up. Don't give in to them." It's like, bro, this poor guy, get him out of there. Like, holy.
Yeah, we're already spending more than I think we wanted to, but the last thing I'll say is you've nailed it. It shows how rotten this club is. Like, I keep asking, like, is there anybody who could actually do this job? And I don't know if that person exists.
Yeah.
Is there anybody who even wants this job? Like, even if they fire Amarim, who are they going to get that has like the promise? You're either going to bank on a new inexperienced manager taking a step up, and you can't even call it a step up anymore. If you bring in like Marco Silva, who's at Fulham, or Iraola, who was at Bournemouth, both those teams did better than United. Yeah, they're mid-table clubs, but they've shown some consistency in staying up. In any normal league where the teams that got relegated weren't so terrible, United are in a relegation fight. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so who's going to do this job? Like, you're going to bring in Sean Dyche just to make sure everything's a draw and you stay up?
Yes.
Well, yeah, that's what you should do. Yeah, well, yeah. But I don't know. And yeah, it's clear that, I mean, I get what Gary Neville's saying, but I'm sure Amarin, a part of him, is probably hoping at this point, like, just fire me, man. Like, maybe Sporting will take me, or I'll go and coach like Ajax or something. Like, there's going to be a lot of jobs open in the Italian league. Some managers might be shuffling around. Just get me the fuck out of here. Like, because and it's a trap that managers and coaches fall into. It's like the Balotelli thing. Everybody thought, oh, I'll be the manager to get his head on straight and get the most out of him. Sometimes, they're always going to be crucial, and you're always going to get burned. Right now, the United job is like Chernobyl. Like, you're going into, like, you put on a hazmat suit. Like, it's crazy, man.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the Champions League final. I'm really excited for this game. I don't know. I think Ruben is as well. I hope everybody else is. This is a great game for like neutrals. Two teams that we both touted throughout the campaign. We know ball. Two teams that we both of us like. I'm really interested to see who Ruben's picking. I've been torn. I've really been torn. I'll be honest. I keep going back and forth. I'm slightly leaning towards one side. I want to hear Ruben your thoughts first. But yeah, this is a great final. Like Inter Milan, the classic, the epitome of the 3-5-2. I don't think anybody has mastered playing the three at the back, or especially with two strikers up top system like Inzaghi has. And PSG just having like a resurgent season. Dembele, arguably one of the best players in the world, could be front runner for Ballon d'Or. Great midfield, great defenders. What do you think are to be the keys like to this game?
Well, I mean, style makes fights. Like, I think that's a great way to put it. This is like when you get a UFC match where someone's a grappler and someone's a striker. Whoever's going to impose their will and whoever gets to play, like, gets to approach the matchup the way they want is going to probably come out on top. PSG are a team that press a lot, that are looking to create those trends. Like, they create artificial transitions where they recover the ball in dangerous positions and then break. And obviously, you already touched on it. Their front line, like, this is a team that has brought out the best of Dembele. You have Doué, who's been incredible. Kvaratskhelia. It's crazy that he's been there for half a season and had as much of an impact as he's had. He's been phenomenal. And on the bench, they have players like Gonzalo Ramos, if they want to approach the game a little differently, which I think is going to be something that is going to make a difference. Like coaching here is going to matter. I think Inzaghi's going to have to win the coaching matchup. They're going to have to set up in a way to play their way and nullify what PSG want to do. And they have to be ready for the counter punches because Luis Enrique is a phenomenal coach. And you can see it by the way that he took this team into the finals. A lot of people weren't picking them to. I know people were saying, oh, it won't be too bad after Kylian leaves. You know, they have all these young players. I don't think anyone expected them to get to the finals the way that they did. They beat Villa, they beat Liverpool, they beat Arsenal. And if you look at those teams, yeah, Villa's a bit like, oh, there's a polar bear in Texas. What's the polar bear doing here? But they were a really good team, and Emery had coached them up really well. That's a tough opponent. They beat Liverpool at a time when people were still saying that Liverpool was the best team on the planet. You know, it looked like Liverpool were going to win the league and the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup and everything. I think they may have been out of one of those cup competitions. But either way, turns out Liverpool only wins, only won their league. And then they played Arsenal, and Arsenal that had wind in their sails after beating Madrid. And they basically treated them like the bully does the nerd at lunch, just hand out and taken and took the money. So they're a really dangerous team. I think if PSG is going to win, they're going to have to create those those breaks. They're going to have to press high and create those transition moments. And I think Dembele will be important. I know we've talked about Doué, we've talked about Kvaratskhelia, and they have experience obviously now through going through this Champions League, and Kvaratskhelia has played in the Champions League with Napoli. But Dembele's been in these moments before. He's been part of big Champions League nights on both ends of what that means, you know? And I think he kind of knows better than anybody how short windows can be, you know? Like he joined a Barcelona team that was like supposed to be on top for the rest of time. And, you know, he was brought in to replace Neymar to kind of try to keep their team at a high level, and it didn't work out. I'm sure that the message from him is going to be like, you don't know how many chances you're going to get at this thing. You know, the last time PSG were here, that team looked completely different. I think Hakimi's still there, Vitinha, and maybe one or two others, but there's no Mbappe, you know, there's no Neymar, there's no et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These things come and go. So he's going to be really important. If Dembele can play to the level that he's shown, he could wrap up the Ballon d'Or and the Champions League. So for me, it's the coaching and it's that. What about you? What do you think the keys are?
Yeah, I think coaching you touched on greatly. I'll just build upon that quickly. I think either one, you know, has to win the coaching battle. But I think as a coach, I would agree with you, and I would probably rate Enrique a little higher than Inzaghi. I think just his game management, how he plays stylistically, how he can adapt like his 4-3-3 systems. I think I prefer him if I was to give one. That's no slight on Inzaghi. It's like, bro, it's like, give me a Lamborghini and a Ferrari. It's like, bro, if you take either one, you know, it's not like, oh, what the hell, you made a terrible decision. They're both amazing. They're both the cream of the crop. I'm going to focus on specific players that I think are probably going to make this game. And yeah, for me, it's like a combination of the front line, but specifically Dembele and Kvaratskhelia, and how much they're going to be able to press. Because to an extent, like Inter's back three, I wouldn't say necessarily press proof, but they play really well out of it, especially with how well Bastoni pushes up into the midfield, almost into attack at times even, and how good he is at getting forward. So if they are able to press against the back three of Inter, and make them uncomfortable so they can't play those long outlets that they love to do to Denzel Dumfries, to either DeMarco or Darmian or whoever it is, and then get it into the midfield with, you know, all the players that we know play there, and then get it up front to Lautaro or Thuram, just like how they like to do. Another player for me who I think is probably the most important for me is going to be Vitinha. I think if Vitinha is able to dictate the pace of play and the passing styles for PSG, I think this can go PSG's way. But if the three or the box midfield that they kind of play with, Inter, that they kind of set up with at times, if that comes in and that can disrupt Vitinha and the other Portuguese, João Neves, I think is his name, the younger guy, how he plays. So I think if they can disrupt that, then that becomes a much different game, especially for PSG. But yeah, I think the most key for me is the wingbacks, Denzel Dumfries and DeMarco. We saw just basically Dumfries, how well he can, effective he can be. We saw it against Barcelona, like literally so many times. It was just counterattack. Dumfries is there. Dumfries is there. Find him. He's available. That's it. So if they can neutralize Dumfries, and by they I mean PSG, then they have a huge chance. If they can't, and they're going to struggle, especially because Nuno Mendes likes to push up forward, Hakimi likes to push up forward, and we know that Hakimi isn't the most defensive sound right back in the world. I think that becomes a problem possibly for PSG. Another thing for me for Inter is going to be in the transitions, how quickly like Lautaro and Marcus Thuram can capitalize on those moments, because we know that Inter likes to push up forward, especially. So at the times, you're going to be left with a Cherby who's a little older, potentially De Vrij or whoever else plays in that three at the back. So that's going to be the biggest things that I think they can capitalize on. We saw Bisek. I think he's young. He has potential. I think he can show like signs of being good, but I think the pace on the counter, he was capitalized on a few times against Barcelona. Those are basically the key battles for me. I think when you look at it, it's like two teams who've been there, who both lost. From Inter, yeah, I think it's just Acerbi and Bastoni. I'm not sure if Mkhitaryan and Çalhanoğlu were there against the City as well.
Oh no, the lineup is it's pretty much the same. They just don't have Onana.
Okay, no, you're right. Yeah, basically
Mkhitaryan is new, I think. There's one other player. Oh, up top, it wasn't Thuram. It was
Lukaku.
Dzeko.
Oh yeah, it was Dzeko, and Lukaku came in and he missed the header. So yeah, he's overrated.
Well, that's how they started. Hey, that's 2-time Scudetto winner.
Yeah,
Lukaku.
Sorry, my bad. It's just you I've spoken about the moment with Lukaku enough on this podcast. So they've been there. Yeah, for PSG, I don't think it's just Dembele, right? Or no, has anybody even been in the Champions League final they lost?
Again, I think Hakimi was there by then.
Yeah,
right?
Hakimi, Marquinhos. Yeah, they've been there. I think Mendes was maybe in the squad.
Yeah, Mendes might have been in the squad. He didn't. Oh no! This is his first. Fabian Ruiz may have been in the squad, but he wasn't important back then. I don't remember. Yeah.
So both teams have been there. Both teams have players who have experienced the loss and like the bitterness of losing a final. So they both have experience. This is why I'm saying I'm so torn, because like there isn't really one way I can point out to say like one team is by far and means better in this sense, in terms of experience, in terms of form, play like defensively, midfield, offensively as well. Even if like you look at Inter and you say that like, oh, they're not a great possession team. Technically they are. Like they in the facets of the game that they do get the ball mostly on the counterattack and they are able to string the ball away, they can control the tempo of play really well. They just are able to suffer so well and take on so much like offensive output from the other team. But to me, it's just it might be a bit of like a caveat, but this is the thing for me. I just think PSG, like it's a DNA thing to bottle it. I think Inter, I just take they've won it before in 2010 with Mourinho. I just kind of believe in them a bit more. I don't know why. I know Neymar is not there. I know Mbappe is not there anymore. But it's just that classic PSG bottling stuff. We saw it against Real Madrid. I'm not gonna be surprised. I'm not gonna say I'll be surprised if they win, but just that's basically the only reason that I'm leaning Inter, and I think Inter take a really close one, either 1-0 or 2-1. I also think they kind of know that this is like it for them because how old some players are, like Achurbi, Mkhitaryan. I think Çalhanoğlu's getting up there as well. So I think they think like if we don't win it with these players, they're probably going to have to retire or probably going to have to change up the squad a bit. So I think that also possibly pushes them to like let's get this done. Let's send them off on their swan song and let's win. So yeah, I'm leaning Inter and I'm going to predict 2-1. 2-1.
2-1 Inter. Okay.
Yeah.
Some goals in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have the teams up now.
Okay.
Yeah, so in the final against City, Dzeko started. He's no longer there. Damian's still there. No, Damian's no longer there. He started. And then I think that's it. Çalhanoğlu's still there. Barella's still there. Brozovic is the other one.
Brozovic was there. Yeah, DeMarco was there. Dumfries,
Bastoni, Achurbi.
Yeah,
it's like mostly the same.
Yeah.
For PSG, we got a lot wrong. So the Marquinhos did start, but he was the CDM. He was playing in the midfield.
Okay.
He was playing in the midfield 3 with Paredes and Herrera. Up front, it was Neymar, Mbappe, and Di Maria. At the back, it was Bernat, Kimpembe, Thiago Silva, and Kerrer. And in goal, it was Navas.
Wow. Real Madrid.
I forgot Navas. Yeah, I forgot that was when he was there.
Thiago Silva was still on.
I couldn't remember if he was there because he ended up at Chelsea for their win, right?
Yeah.
He was there when they beat Man City. So I kind of forgot when he made the move over. And even on the bench, like none of those players are like Marco Verratti, Julian Draxler, and Eric Maxim Choupo-Moting were the subs.
Yeah.
None of them are going to feature. Mauro Cardi was still there.
I'm surprised they didn't start Verratti in that game, but like maybe injury, I don't remember. It was over 5 years ago.
He went in the 65th minute for Paredes. Marquinhos played the whole match. Di Maria.
But yeah, I mean, we saw it against Bayern with. This is a very strong team. I mean, I would definitely take their midfield now over the midfield then. I also would take their defense over the defense they had then. It's just the front line, I think, is a toss-up. But we saw it in that game. They had plenty of chances. They didn't score. Bayern capitalized, and they won. Is that going to happen again? I think so. But also, again, I could be wrong. I hate sitting on the fence. I want to take a side, right? But it's so difficult. And that's why I think it's going to be such a great game. Yeah.
It's very tricky. This has the makings of a classic. Like I said, we've said that these are the two best teams. So you've as much as you'd like to say you're on the fence, you did say you're predicting an Inter win 2-1. You're leaving room for potentially the other way. You're not saying that Inter are like heavy favorites, but that's where you're planting your flag, which is fair. I'm with you. I've been tortured over this. I've been tortured over this in my personal life, and then when I knew we had to do it for the pod, I've been tortured over it even more. So like on Inter's side, it's kind of what you're saying. The desperation has to be there. This is an Inter team that knows that they're getting old. We've already shown like their starting 11 is more or less unchanged from the team that they brought last time they were in the final. Whereas PSG's, obviously that final was a little further in the past, but it's a whole new team. Like, even down to the star, like it's a whole new team. I think Inzaghi's a great coach. Inter have proven that they're a hard team to beat. You look at their route. They had to get past Bayern. They had to get past Barcelona. And despite some of the tough games they've had, they've only trailed in the Champions League for like a total of like 19, 18.
Yeah, like 16 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
So they've been incredibly stout defensively. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they punish people for their mistakes, especially on the break with Dumfries and Lautaro and Thuram.
Sorry, yeah, it's 16 minutes in the entire Champions League.
Yeah.
And according to this article, Sempre Inter, it's 38 minutes in all of Serie A.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
That's wild.
They have been extremely good. And, there's also the PSG bottle angle, I think, that you have to bring up. Until you do it, I'll never believe that you can do it, as counterintuitive as that sounds. But it's the same thing that happened with City, right? Until they actually got it over the line, no one believed they could get it over the line. It would be heartbreaking for Inter to once again get to the finals and lose to a first-time winner, as they did last time they were here, by a different state-owned club. On the PSG side, the things that worry me about Inter, they've been in the league the whole time. They've had to play basically to the last day. Those are older players. There's a lot of miles in their legs. What shape is Lautaro going to be in? What shape is Thuram going to be in? Like, at the end of the Barca tie, Lautaro didn't even make it the whole way, and Thuram was bandaged up like he was kind of cast on. And, despite my dislike of Luis Enrique because of his Barca connections and stuff, he has a really lovely story. Like, I know that shouldn't matter, but if you haven't and you listen to this podcast, like, look up about what happened to his daughter and how she passed. And the way he talks about it is genuinely, like, you can tell he's a good person. Like, there's one story that's stuck out with me where his mom wouldn't have any pictures of her in her house. And he was like, why? And she's like, it just makes me sad. He's like, no, like, we have to celebrate her. Like, she's, and he's talked about how when he won with Barca, she was there and she planted a flag in the middle of the pitch, and he wants to do that again because even though she's not there, all that emotional stuff. So it makes him someone to root for. And again, I said earlier, before PSG even made it, that I wanted Mbappe to be humiliated to get the best out of him next year. And I say the best out of him. He won the Golden Boot. Like, it's not a pretty good season.
Crazy. Terrible season. Terrible. Won the Pichichi.
Levels and differences. Like, everyone's crazy about Rafinha. Mbappe scored more goals than anybody.
Anybody.
Actually, Gyökeres scored more, but it's worth less because it's in the Portuguese league. That doesn't matter. It's a diversion. And again, like, for PSG, they have been, I think, the best team in the world for at least since January. Like, it's hard. It's like my head and my heart want two different things. My heart wants Inter to win because the PSG project and the people who own it aren't people that I agree with. It's funny to have the PSG like bottling thing. There's not a ton of players on their. I don't hate anybody on their team the way that I used to when Messi was there and stuff. But I don't have a lot of love for anybody on their team the way that I used to when Thiago Silva was there and Neymar was there. For Inter, it would be a really lovely cap to their story, an aging squad. It would be their fourth Champions League win all time, which is crazy. They're almost catching up to Barcelona. Ultimately, though, I think PSG is going to get it done.
Okay.
I can't look, and like, to me, I think this is going to be a really good game. The way the Inter played against Barcelona, I think will be very similar, and I think PSG don't play as high a line, so they're not going to get caught out. I kind of agree with a 2-1 scoreline. I just think it'll be PSG. I think that Dembele will mark a difference, and it'll be the first Champions League trophy to rock up at the Parc des Princes. Like, I just can't look past it. And on the off chance that Dembele's having a bad night, or Doué doesn't play well, or Kvaratskhelia is gonna play well. He's very consistent. You can say whatever you want about him. He's very consistent.
Yeah.
They can chuck on Gonzalo Ramos, which I think makes a huge difference. They have experienced players. I don't know. It's hard. My brain just keeps predicting a PSG win because I thought about it because I want to make a bet on the game. It's always more fun to watch when you have a
Yeah,
little
of
bit of
course.
stake into it. And I kept thinking, like, who am I going to bet on? Like, I want to bet on Inter. Like, I want to because I want them to win. And I think they could win. Everything that Cheyenne said is 100% true. The bottling stuff is still there. Inter have defended extremely well. This is going to be PSG's, like, one of their toughest tests, like, that they've played. Like, it's going to be like playing an Arsenal team that actually has a striker. Like, that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be a team that can actually defend, but can actually score and show some bite. The PSG center backs are going to be under a lot of pressure. If Lautaro and Thuram are at the level of fitness needed to put in a shift for 90 minutes. I think that's the other thing that scares me. If this goes into extra time, I think Inter is cooked. Let me say that they have to win in 90 minutes. Inter cannot play for extra time. They can play for penalties maybe, but not extra time. In extra time, I think PSG's legs will just crush them. I think they have a much deeper team. So
yeah, I have to agree with that. I think they can try to play for penalties in extra time, but it's also like if your legs are not there and you can't keep up with the runs and the squad depth of PSG, not that Inter doesn't have squad depth, I just think that they've rotated more. PSG has, and they just looked fresher throughout the competition. But yeah, like I think you might not even make it to penalties. One reason that I could see PSG winning this is the form. The quadruple is on, I think, or something. Or I know they could win a treble at least.
They've won every trophy, I think, in France. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 90% sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you look at these competitions and you look at teams that, in their own league, not that Inter has struggled, but, going down to the line like that with Napoli, not getting it on the second last day or last day, however, pound out, that is a blow psychologically and physically. And I think that can affect them. But then on the other side, when you have PSG who come into this game, League One is wrapped up as of, I don't know, January. Like, no slide on League One, but we know how it goes. And
it's been a while.
They're just chilling. So that is one thing I could see that could be in PSG's favor. The only thing for me is that I question is that, yes, PSG does not play the high line that Barcelona does, and I trust them more defensively. As I would say, as a cohesive unit, I think we've said PSG is probably the best team in the Champions League, but we've also really liked Inter as well for all the things that they do well that we mentioned. But I think that if PSG score, it's not like Inter can't go toe to toe with them. If they want to defend, Inter will defend. If they want to go blow for blow, we've seen it. Now, yes, they're not going to play as a high line, and they won't be able to capitalize as much with Dumfries and DeMarco, and you have to see how that affects them. But I believe they can go toe-to-toe with them. One thing that is interesting is that aside from last year's final when Real won 2-0, the past 1, 2, 3, 4 have been 1-0 games.
Yeah.
So betting on a 1-0 result might be like actually the best bet. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. I think I probably will make that bet.
Yeah, but. Some good betting odds for you, Ruben, and for people who bet. PSG is 165 favorite. Inter is 125, so it's virtually like very, very close. It's even almost. Under 2.5 goals. Jan Sommer 5+ saves. So
yeah, I that's the thing is like. Honestly, and this is I forgot to say this earlier. The reason I can see Inter winning is because like finals also tend to be cagey. It doesn't matter that Luis Enrique has been there before and won. We've seen it happen to Pep. Like you overthink, you get a little bit nervous. The players themselves get nervous. They don't want to make the mistake that cost the game. Like
you play Ilkay Gundogan as a striker when you had Sergio Aguero on the bench.
We cannot replace him. We cannot. No. You replaced him in the final.
You goof.
I honestly like that man's brain needs to be studied, or like he has to stop lying. Don't tell me you can't replace someone. You played Ilkay Gundogan in his spot. This man is one of the best nines to play in the Premier League, and you're like, Ilkay Gundogan. That's what I'm gonna do. Fucking clown. God, Pep Guardiola. Oh, before we wrap up as we near the 40-minute mark, it was funny because I was editing the episode, and in it we talk about, did City have a better season than Arsenal because they might finish above them, and they'll probably have a trophy. They do not have a trophy.
They do not have a
Crystal
trophy.
Palace, let's go.
Yeah, I should have known when I said that. I think I was the one to say that as well.
You were the one to say that.
After I was like, wait a minute. This is Crystal Palace, a cagey team. City have struggled against Crystal Palace in history. And again, it's a final. Yeah. I think Pep's like going kind of nuts about that as well, because apparently he's saying stuff like, like if you don't reduce the squad, I'm quitting.
Oh,
and
really?
he got mad. Yeah, I saw, like, I don't know how true that is. It was like a headline on Instagram. He got very, very upset about Jack Grealish. I don't know if you saw that press conference question. The reporter asked him, like, why didn't you start Grealish? He's like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about Grealish. And then he's like, trying to deflect. He's like, Rico Lewis, one of my favorites. He did not start in blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, dude, we get it. It's been rough. It's a season.
It's just funny though, because whenever a manager responds like that, it's like, oh, like you don't want Jack Grealish around anymore.
Oh yeah,
and that's why this question is annoying you.
Yeah,
like because you've told the club you don't want him, but they don't want to just give him away for free, and no one wants to pay for a player that you barely use anyways. Like, yeah that's tough.
What is it with like
Jack Grealish? You will be going to Sunderland.
Oh, newly promoted Sunderland. What is with Pep and destroying? I'm sorry to go on a tangent, but just with destroying these like creative, like dribbling, flary left wingers. Phil Foden.
Yeah,
Jack Grealish.
That's crazy. I used to hear that Phil Foden was better than Jude Bellingham, and now I barely hear fucking Phil Foden's name.
You need to be checked. Like, I hate to be that harsh. You need to be medically checked, or take a book out of Stephen A. Smith. You need to be banned from talking about sports if you think that Phil Foden is even in the stratosphere of Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
So
no, but I think Pep. I'll say this, and then we can either say one last thing about the game or just wrap it up and talk about what's next for the pod. But Pep just destroys these players. But the sad part is, I think it's happening more and more because people are so insistent on playing a system. Man, I saw kids playing at a school in Toronto on Kiel.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, they were trying to play out from the back, and it was just like a recess. I'm like, if you don't try to do a step over and get past your man, I'm gonna kill you. What is this? While you're resisting the press, like get the fuck out of here. Anyways, I think a lot of coaches nowadays, they're just taking away the individuality. I mean, like other people have talked about it. I think even Messi himself has said, like, just let them play and be kids. Like, you shouldn't tell a 8-year-old, okay, in this position you make this pass, or you make this pass, or you'd never do this. Like, like if you make everything like a factory just to play these systems, or just with the end goal to get to a certain place, you lose the magic of what sports is and what different play styles can become.
Exactly.
Like Ozil is not a player that you make out of rigid, rules. Ozil's a player that is created from having fun with the ball and unlocking new ways to make things happen. So, it's sad that Pep Guardiola is killing the game. But what can you do? I
think you can relate it to this game because, like, on the opposite end, Luis Enrique lets his players play.
He does,
and even though we saw he played like a tiki-taka system at Barcelona, it was like a refined version that had long balls, had diagonal balls, had crossing. Look, and that's one thing that can go in their favor, especially in the final, because how good Kvaratskhelia is at dribbling and at getting defenders, and how good Dembele is, and either Doué or even Barcola come off the bench.
Yeah, these are huge. Barcola,
these are huge things.
I think Luis Enrique is a better coach than Pep Guardiola. I do. Like, in terms of like really getting the most out of his players.
In terms of accolades, probably not on paper, but in terms of coaching, it's like, well,
yeah, man. Like, I mean, they won the same amount of Champions Leagues with Barcelona, and you could even argue that Luis Enrique was nearing the end of that cycle. Players were getting older, so he didn't even have the peak prime Barca that Pep had. And again, if Luis Enrique brings PSG their first Champions League, in my mind, he's basically equaled most of what Pep's done.
That's an argument. That's an argument.
Because then we're really just talking. I mean, I don't know. The Premier League is a different beast, but I do like the fact that he lets players play. Like, again, in that last run, I am not a Barcelona fan. I hate Barcelona, but Neymar was the best player for Barcelona when they beat PSG on their way in that one Champions League. He got the most out of those players, and I think he's a really good coach, and I think he allows his players to play, which is something that I respect a lot for sure. Yeah. So,
and it might show.
He coaches like he has fun, you know.
Yeah,
like look at the difference, and we talked about it in the last pod, but like Arteta getting on the press conference and whining about being the better team and all this, that, and the other. That's so Pep. And then Luis Enrique just smiling, being like, "I disagree," or like, "Oh, I thought we were the farmers." Like, for a man who coached Barcelona, he has more Mourinho in him than he does Pep. He has more charisma and more like, again, like I feel like I know Luis Enrique as a human and as a person more than I know Pep. And Pep's been in a spotlight way longer than him.
Yeah. I think for both of these coaches, you also don't get a lot of like the stupid comments. Like when Arteta says it was like, with the amount of points we had last year, we would have won the Premier League this year. It's like, well, you didn't get the amount of points you had. You actually fell off. So, like, if anything, you've been worse. Yes, the Premier League has been worse, but also you were worse. So, like, what is this if we had all this? Like, you don't really get that from Enrique. I mean, you know, both of them have definitely had moments, you know, when they get frustrated and they say stuff
does. Everybody does.
But, you know, that's why, you know, the final is so appealing because they're both great coaches. You know, Enrique lets his players play. You have fun. You know, great tactician as well. Inzaghi mastered the 3-5-2. Been there for so long. You know, has won Scudettos, has won everything. It's just the Champions League that's eluding him. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a great final to watch.
Yeah. I guess we can leave it there. Moving forward, we'll probably do an episode recapping the recapping the Champions League final.
Yeah,
we talked about doing a Premier League recap where we'll
do that as well.
How we think, and you know, maybe we'll do a special 2-for-1 because I do want to talk. Again, we mentioned it in the last pod. It became official after that. Xabi Alonso, Real Madrid head coach. There've already been some moves in the transfer market. There's more, and there's more potential. So I do want to talk about how we think that team could set up and what is the future. But yeah, because the thing you said about Arsenal, I think is very that comment frustrated me because I was like, you know why Liverpool didn't need that many more points to win this one as for the last one? Because you didn't force them to.
Yeah.
They were allowed to take their foot off the gas because of you.
Yeah, you were the only viable competition. City fell off. Chelsea had 2 months and they went back to normal. Newcastle were Newcastle. United and Spurs are tire fires. So it's like you were the only competition, and I think we'll talk about it in the Premier League episode. But this also begs the question of like, how really good is this Liverpool team? If all the teams come back, quote unquote, and the Premier League is as good as we know it can be. Like, how good are they? It's a question.
It'll be interesting. And I mean, they made a big move. Jeremy Frimpong is going to basically replace Trent Alexander. I know they have Connor Bradley, but again, that seems very much like what Madrid are going to have to do. Like one of them is more offensive minded, one of them is more defensive minded. How does the shape change depending on who's there, the responsibilities? Because Frimpong basically plays as a winger, or he has been playing as a winger, basically for Leverkusen.
Apparently they're getting Florian Wirtz as well.
Yeah, like I'm saying that they poached that deal from Bayern, basically, and
and City, or apparently,
yeah.
I will say this for Bayer Leverkusen. Wow, oh my God, I'm so sorry,
man.
You lost Frimpong, you're losing Wirtz, you're probably losing Jonathan Todd. I think Schick and Tapsoba are probably leaving as well, and Boniface, and then you get Erik ten Hag. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm extremely curious to see how that appointment goes, honestly. And this is such a nothing comment, and I was going to save it for the Madrid episode, but I'll leave it here. like the aura that that Xavi has is so great. Like I love Carlo, but Carlo was like a cool, like he was like he had like the history and the cigars. Xavi is like you got the cool teacher in high school. Like he's the guy that's gonna turn the chair around. He comes in wearing a leather jacket and he's like, "Let's talk." And like
we're having class outside.
Yeah, his press conference was great. I think you can see the influences that his culture, where he's played football and who he's played for, because there were parts of his press conference where were very like Mourinho and very like sharp and very like clever with how he's using his words. He was very diplomatic, and obviously he has that same Zidane like coolness. Like yeah, he's doing a press conference, but this could also be a magazine shoot for GQ. Like
exactly.
He's so fucking handsome. Like he's so handsome.
Listen, I hope my girlfriend doesn't get mad at me, but I'm gonna say this. Like you want to be Xabi Alonso. Like guys want to be him.
For sure.
Like men want to be him, women want to be with him, blah blah blah. So I sent my girlfriend sent me. She's like, "Oh, like who is this player?" And I was explaining because she's been following Real Madrid ever since she's been with me because her ex was a Liverpool fan. Yeah. So
tough.
Yeah, tough. She's like, "Yeah, like so who is this player?" Blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah, he's a legend. He's been one of the best defensive midfielders, et cetera, et cetera." And then I sent her the press conference and she listened to it and she's like, said two things. First, she was like, he's kind of cute, and I was like, okay, well, you can never watch Real Madrid games ever again. You are banned. And I'm mad at you. No, it's fine. It's okay to find other people attractive is normal, right? Even if you're in a relationship, we're still human.
Healthy.
Yeah.
Healthy.
And then she's like, yeah, like, she's obviously listening to his subtitles, but she's like, yeah, like, I like what he's saying. He sounds like cool. He sounds smart. She's like, yeah, like, I think he's going to do well. And now that's just from like, a pretty casual fan. So we'll talk about it more on a deep dive.
He came across great.
Yeah. Sure. We gave you a lot of Real Madrid stuff. We promised we'd give you other stuff. So this has been the Champions League final. We're going to do the Premier League, and then we'll talk about Xabi Alonso after that. But yeah, we hope you enjoyed. The game's on Saturday. We'll get this out as quickly as possible so people can see it. Watch the game. Bet on the game. Don't bet too much. Don't put yourself in financial.
Know your limit. Play within it. OLG, baby.
Yes. Don't put yourself in financial trouble like some Spanish teams. I'm not going to name names, but yeah, we hope you enjoyed. Ruben, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull every lever to make a $1 million bet for Ousmane Dembele 65th minute goal from his left foot specifically. It's a lock.
Yeah.
If that happens now, I'll look like a genius.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed. To like, comment, subscribe. Let us know who you think's gonna win. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.